Thank you, Noelia. I'll see you at our next break. And now, let's turn it over to Ana Bella Bastida, Executive Director of the Council of Mexican Federations, one of the largest member-based organizations in California, striving to develop active community leaders and mobilize its membership to improve the educational and socioeconomic attainment of Latino and immigrant families in California. Ana Bella will talk about the impact that AB 32 and SB 32 has on the consumer and what we can contribute to these efforts.
We as a Latino community, we really are interested in supporting our environment. We see the correlation between the environment and between our health, and we see this kind of regulation as something that we support, but at the same time it's something that we need to continue addressing, as it has some implication in our members, particularly in the vulnerable communities and our poor immigrants. Our community, for many years, the Latino community understands the issue, and even what I can share with you is that we are also progressive. We understand that there is a cost allocated, and some of the things that we have been doing is advocating for policies, and as you know, for increasing in terms of taxes and other measurements that allow to have the resources for the implementation of this bill. But the reality is that when it comes to price, we need to understand that especially for families that make the minimum wage or that are struggling with means with putting food on the table, sometimes increase in electricity, the cost on gas and all of that is something that we really struggle sometimes, and that's a reality. Well, as I just said, we understand the needs to have a better environment. We understand the correlation that is causing the air pollution and other things in our communities, and we are looking for those measurements that help us. But at the same time, they're understanding that sometimes even if we wanted to adopt on that technology, when it's available and when it's in our means, we try to. But the reality is that for us to invest $20,000, $30,000 in that kind of technology, and even though that we wanted to do it, sometimes it's a challenge. Some of the things that we are doing is protecting our public lands. We are as well fighting for regulations so our water and our air are cleaner. We understand the issue that we are facing. It's just a matter of finding the policies that allow us to collaborate with policymakers as well with Latino communities and with other entities, because at the end of the day we want the same thing.
Jenna Price, partner at Stratton Price Consulting. I work with a number of environmental justice and consumer welfare organizations and companies. Most recently, before leaving or starting at my own firm, I worked as the legislative director for the California League of Conservation Voters, which focuses on being sort of the political accountability arm of the environmental movement, making sure that we elect good legislators who are going to represent their community's values. And I think that requiring that our biggest polluters, and those are both from stationary sources, be it refiners, be it manufacturers, as well as from emissions caused by the tailpipe, we have to figure out a way to shift our market so that we are encouraging cleaner procurement of vehicles for everybody, not just those who can currently afford it, so that we're ensuring that our air is cleaner, because we know that it's both important to focus on reducing greenhouse gas emissions as well as focusing on reducing local criteria air pollutants. You don't exactly have the luxury, nor should you have to have the responsibility to think about the polar bear that's sitting on the ice cap. I always tell people that that's a real luxury for folks, to think about the food that you have to put on your table, to make sure that your kids are getting to school on time, that they're getting a breakfast. Those are the real life impacts that you're thinking about every single day. What you don't also want to have to add to that is the freight corridor that's right next door, and the trains that go through every single day that are causing tons of diesel pollution and particulate matter. Women of color are so deeply impacted, and it is so personal. I think when you think about the effects that are being caused towards your children, that are being caused towards your family, I think that the most important thing we can do is encourage more women of color to run for elected office so that they can change these outcomes.
Next, you will hear from Noemi Gallardo, Senior Manager of Public Policy at Sunrun, the nation's largest residential solar, storage, and energy services company. Noemi will share with us how the solar industry is faring in meeting the goals set out in AB and SB 32 and the economic impact on housing, workforce, etc.
Well, in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, according to the 2030 goals, solar rooftop has a very special and unique role to play. So Sunrun, our mission is to create a planet run by the sun. And those 200,000 customers are basically turning their homes into a mini power plant. Those mini power plants eliminate the need for use of dirty power plants. Technology that will help us meet these standards. There's definitely innovation happening all the time, and that's one of the important things about our industry is that we are actually a tech industry. Sunrun has been doing solar for the last 10 years. We're in our 11th year and now doing battery storage. So the combination of solar plus energy storage is transformational. You know, people with their homes having rooftop solar and a battery can produce energy, save it, and then be able to better manage their energy with this combination of technologies. SOMA program, that's the acronym, Solar on Multifamily Affordable Housing. And so it's a program where it's going to provide incentives for solar providers like Sunrun and others to put solar on multifamily affordable housing. This program also has a requirement to have people trained to enter into the solar industry. So we're going to be working with a variety of workforce development organizations to ensure that the workforce is diverse. Across the United States, we have over 200,000 jobs, at least in 2017. And then in California, it was over 86,000. Solar on all new construction. And this is mostly, it's all new construction, but limited to like single family homes, smaller types of buildings. And so this is an important step, I think, and it's going to help encourage us to do more solar. And I think it's not necessarily a cost to the customer because the building developers are actually the ones who are going to be, implementing it. And so overall, I think it actually saves customers money because they're going to be, able to, save on their bills once the systems are on. So we don't have any exact numbers on the cost, but I think long term it's going to be very beneficial for customers.
So my name is Argelia Leon. I work for the Western States Petroleum Association, and my capacity here is Manager of Strategic Partnerships. The industry does abide by the strictest safety and regulatory and environmental laws, especially here in California. This industry provides upward mobility for a lot of Latinos and Latinas throughout the state. Many of these jobs people can get without a college degree, and they pay anywhere from $85,000 up. So they're well-salaried jobs, union jobs, many of them, and also jobs that provide health insurance and safety, a really good safety net for our community, somewhere that no other industry can say that they do for the community. Additionally, the oil and gas industry is one of the only industries that provides opportunities for people that have been formerly incarcerated. A lot of our guys that are out in the oil rigs or working in the refineries are people that have had a criminal history, have served time in jail or prison, and we are the only industry in the state that can say that we provide second opportunities for these folks, and not just any type of job. It's a 85,000 to six-figure jobs at minimum, and they provide a way for them to be able to pull themselves up from poverty. So I'll start with the opportunities that the implementation of AB 32 and SB 32 have provided for the industry. I think it has provided them an opportunity to really show regulators and the state, residents, and the world that actually the industry really does abide by these rules and regulations. And a lot of the things that those laws want to implement, the oil industry has already been doing. Air quality monitoring, a lot of the ways that we reduce our emissions is we have already put in place ways to do that, whether it's at our refineries or out in the oil rigs. So we are doing our best part not only to ensure that we abide by them, but also provide innovation on how to do it in the most cost-effective and practical way. Some of the challenges with the implementation is that although we do believe that they are well intended, a lot of the times there's unintended consequences that come with overregulation. And unfortunately, some of that overregulation impacts some of the poorest communities, because it's a lot of these folks that are not able to cover the cost of when prices go up or issues happen where implementation makes it more difficult for people to do business in California. And essentially that comes back as, you know, having to cut jobs or increase prices.
If you thought you had information overload before, how are you feeling now? All great things that we should be aware of. Noelia, back to you.